The method for making this barbecue sauce is super easy. We're going to brown the onions to give them a little bit more savory flavor. We're going to add the garlic and brown them really quick. We don't want to brown the onions for more than maybe 30 to 60 seconds because they'll burn really fast, and burnt garlic tastes awful. It'll ruin the whole batch. And then we're just going to add everything else in, bring it to a boil, and we're going to throw it in the blender. So let's get started. So we've got our hot pan here. I'm actually going to cook this with butter because I like butter. And we're going to melt this down. My pan, or my cooktop, is at a 5 right now. And I'm actually going to turn it up to 6 because what I want to do is I want to brown these onions pretty quickly. Like, we're not going to take the time to caramelize them like we did with the caramelized onions. Maybe it'd be great if you want to. I am actually all for it. And in fact, I think what we might do is add some of those caramelized onions that we made to this to really punch up that flavor. That's a brilliant idea. I think we're going to do that. Yay. Okay, so we've got our melted butter. I want this to warm up a little bit more. This particular cooktop is kind of, it's not that, it's a little weak, right? It takes a little while for it to heat up. So I want to make sure the butter is good and hot. Also, this cooktop has a hot spot right here. So regardless of what I'm doing, I'm always going to watch this spot on my pan on this cooktop. When it comes to your oven at home, like, you're going to find the more you cook that your particular oven, your particular stove has idiosyncrasies, right? So this stove, this cooktop right here has a hot spot. So yours is going to have a hot spot somewhere. The more you cook with it, the more you'll learn it, because there'll just be one spot, regardless of what pan you use, that always seems to like brown faster than the others. When you figure out where that is on your stove, remember it and accommodate it, because you need to accommodate it. It's never going to accommodate you, right? So our butter looks nice and hot. We're going to add our onions. Put them in there. And we're going to cook these until they're soft and just a little brown. We want to be mindful of the butter. Butter has a relatively low smoke point. So that's another reason we don't have this cooktop cranked up. So this would probably be 5 or 6 on your oven at home. If you notice that the butter starts to burn, then pick up your pan, and count to like 10 or 20, kind of keep stirring it. In that time, the pan will cool off just enough to stop the butter from burning. And I don't mean wait till the butter is actually burning and smoking to do that. Like, if you notice it's starting to brown a little bit, that's when you pick it up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this cook for a few minutes, and we'll check it out in a second. We've got some great browning on our onion. It's been probably, I don't know, like 4 or 5 minutes. It smells amazing. You can smell the sugars caramelizing. They smell really savory. They smell kind of sweet. They smell good. So now we're going to add our garlic. This is going to go really quickly because garlic likes to burn in like half a second. Like, garlic is really high in sugar. So we're actually going to turn down our burner just a little bit. And we're only going to cook this garlic for like 30 to 60 seconds. And we're going to keep it moving the whole time. Because if we let this sit in contact with the pan, like, it's going to burn really fast. And like, burnt garlic is surprisingly potent. Like, I don't know what it is about garlic. Maybe it's all the sulfur compounds in it. But when you burn garlic, like, that smell gets into everything. And like, there's no saving a dish unless you really like burnt garlic flavor, which actually I think some people do. Somebody served me a salad once at a restaurant with like really deep, dark garlic. And he was talking about how wonderful and smoky it was. And I thought it just tasted burnt. So we'll see. Oh, it smells amazing. I love the smell of cooking garlic. I'm going to keep cooking it. And we're about done. Basically, what we're doing right now is we're heating the garlic so that it releases its oils into the butter and the fat that's already in this pan. And once those flavorful compounds release into the oil, into the butter, they then coat all the rest of the onions and everything else we're going to put in here. And that works best in like an oil heat as opposed to a wet heat. So if we were to add the garlic with everything else, it would just kind of like simmer. Like, it wouldn't really pull out that flavor. It wouldn't really heighten that gorgeous garlic flavor that we're looking for. So that's why we're kind of doing the garlic with the onions for just a few seconds. Alrighty, we are good. So we're gonna add everything else now. So we've got our vinegar. Sizzle. That's going to deglaze all the little brownie bits on the bottom of the pan. Browning is flavor. Remember, we want to save those brownie bits. We're going to take our lemon juice, and I'm only going to put half of it in. I'm not going to use all of it because I'm not convinced that it's going to need it all with the vinegar. We're going to add our brown sugar. Come on. Come on. Rah. There we go. Also, it's important to note, the reason it wouldn't come out of the spoon is because when you measure brown sugar, you're supposed to pack it. So you don't measure brown sugar by loosely kind of putting it in a cup or a measuring spoon. You literally pack it in there, and that's how brown sugar is measured. Because it's kind of like, it's got like a, I don't know, do you ever use Floam, that kids clay? It's got kind of a Floam type consistency, right? When you pack it in there, it kind of holds its shape. That's how you properly measure brown sugar. So generally, when you try to get it out of whatever you've packed it into, it kind of fights a little bit. We're going to give all that a stir. Da, 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 da. Alrighty, we're going to add our Worcestershire. Worcestershire. Took me a long time to be able to say Worcestershire as a kid. And then I had a British friend recently tell me that I'm still mispronouncing it as an adult. So I don't know how I'm supposed to say it. I'll just call it Worcestershire sauce and hope that nobody makes fun of me to my face. We're going to add our spices. We're going to add our tomato paste. Oop, come on. Kind of mash that up a little bit. We're going to add everything and bring it to a boil. And then this is a really important step. After we bring it to a boil, we need to let it sit and cool for a few minutes, because if you take this really hot mixture and you put it into a blender, what's going to happen is the blender is going to fill with all the steam from the rapidly turning blades, and your blender will explode hot barbecue sauce all over you and potentially put you in the emergency room and absolutely make a huge mess. Like, you know, it's funny, I read these recipes sometimes and they say, you know, cook blah, 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 put it in your blender. And I'm like, either this person has never made this recipe before, or they take a lot for granted in the kitchen and in the recipe development. So once this is all done and come to a boil, then we really need to let it cool. Not like completely cool, it doesn't need to be room temperature, but it needs to be cool enough that we can actually stick our finger in it and hold it there. We've got it all in here. I'm looking at the texture. I'm gonna add the peaches, and there's a little bit of liquid in here from the peaches. It's gonna make it a little bit thinner. That's fine. I have my reserved liquid from the peaches here. And I'm holding on to this because I may want to adjust the sweetness and the texture later after I've already put it in the blender. So we're not even going to need this until it's been in the blender, and we might not need it at all. So that's why this guy's sitting here off to the side. We're going to give it a stir. I'm going to turn up my cooktop because for some reason this cooktop is like only sort of warm up until 7, and then at 8 it goes nuclear. So we're going to cook all these together, and we're going to bring this to a boil, and we'll check it out in a second. We've brought our barbecue sauce, or future barbecue sauce, I guess, to a boil, and it's looking really good. I'm actually going to break up these peaches a little bit, just so they heat through faster, and so they're not such a task for the blender. Small bits are far easier to blend in a blender than big bits, and canned peaches are really soft, so they're really easy to break up. So we're just going to do the work ahead of time. Now, while we were waiting for this to boil, I snuck off and I grabbed some of the caramelized onions that we made in the last lesson. And these are really tasty. I've got probably a tablespoon and a half. Oh my God. They're so good. We're going to mix those in till they warm through. Give it all a good mix. My burner's still at a 6, and I'm tired of fighting with it, so I'm just going to leave it there and wait for it instead of trying to make it accommodate me. There we go. This is actually at a good temperature, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take it off the heat. We're going to let it cool for probably 10 or 15 minutes, just till it's cool enough where I can like put my finger in there and hold it without any discomfort, and then I'm going to go put it in the blender. We've cooled off our soon-to-be barbecue sauce. It's looking really good. So now we're going to blend it because it is cool enough for me to stick my finger in it without burning myself. It tastes really good. So it tastes good. So we haven't salted this yet. There's a really important reason why, and it's because of these peaches. So we could salt this right now, and we would just be flavoring like the outside sauce, right? But once we blend it, these peaches are going to get blended all up into the sauce as well. We're not going to really get an accurate like salting temperature for it. So I'm just going to wait to salt it until it's been blended and I get an overall taste of what the sauce is going to taste like. So we're gonna blend it in this guy right here. And I wanna make sure when I'm blending this in the blender, or when I'm pouring this into the blender, that I get all the little brown bits off the bottom of the pan, because browning is flavor. I'm gonna keep saying that. Browning is flavor. So all the little brownie bits on the bottom of the pan, called the fond, are really important for flavor. And we've got them all up. They'll naturally come up as we're like bubbling the sauce, but just make sure you get them all. So we're gonna pour this into the blender, and hopefully it won't splop all over me, because I don't really want to be covered in barbecue sauce. That's also why I'm wearing an apron. The last time I did this, I had a big splop of barbecue sauce just like on my face, and nobody told me, and it was there for like probably like 5 hours. Even though I had like kind of like rinsed my face off, it had like stuck because it's sticky, and I didn't see it till I went to bed. And it was super embarrassing. So we're gonna blend this, and we're gonna blend it at a relatively low speed at first. We do wanna blend this until it's super smooth, and it's not super sensitive to over blending. Like, you can blend it a little more to get super smooth texture. And what we wanna do is make sure that it's liquidy enough to blend. If you find that your sauce is not liquidy enough, you can add a little bit more vinegar, or you can just add water if you don't want to adjust the flavor that much, just to make sure that it blends adequately, and then you taste it and you can like adjust the flavoring. So let's give it a start. Let's turn it on first. Let's go. I've got it on 2, so let's go. I'm gonna turn it up. Alrighty, I'm gonna scrape down the sides really fast because there's little bits of onion and garlic, which isn't a huge deal, but texturally I want this to be really smooth, so I don't want any little like bits in it that would be weird on the palate. It's looking good, actually. I'm gonna give it a pre-taste and see how it tastes. Oh, it's really good. Oh, actually, it's just a little spicy. It's actually a good level of spicy. I've got like a little bit of lingering spiciness, and then it goes away. It definitely needs salt. I'm gonna add a generous pinch of salt, and then a smaller pinch of salt. I'm debating whether I wanna add any more. I don't think I wanna add any more sweetness. I do wanna add a little bit more lemon for tartness. This is about a half teaspoon of lemon. And again, this is totally up to you. This is your barbecue sauce. So you're gonna make this how you want it. So if you want it spicier, add more cayenne or chili powder. If you want more acid, add more vinegar, add more lemon juice. I think the vinegar we used was apple cider vinegar because it's super easy and everybody has it, but you can use any vinegar you want, really. You can use a sweeter vinegar if you want. Add more salt if you like it saltier, or add even more brown sugar, some regular white sugar, or more of the canned peach juice if you want to make it a little sweeter. And really, you can add anything you want. Like if you like decide that you wanted a little bit more like seasoning, you could add a little bit of cumin, which would be delicious. You can add pretty much anything you want out of your spice cabinet. It'll work really well. All right, let's give this a go. Put it on 2. Put it up. Alrighty, we're done. So I want to point out that this is like a super blender. This is like Julie's Mega Vitamix. And it moves really quickly. So if you have like a regular everyday blender at home that doesn't have like a lawnmower engine in it, you probably have to blend it a little bit more. Now this is actually blended, and it's made it warm again. These blenders move so fast that they will actually boil soup if you blend something for too long. So it's something to be mindful of if you're using a Vitamix or a Blendtec or a Ninja. It's good. Well, it's delicious. I'm gonna add more salt. I like a lot of salt. If you don't like a lot of salt, you are welcome to add as little salt as you want. But I guarantee you, if you like push your own boundaries and keep adding a little bit more salt than you would normally think is normal, you might actually find that your food tastes better. So we're gonna blend this guy again. Come on. Oop, I turned it off. High maintenance blender. Alrighty, it's off. Let's give it one more taste. I think it's probably done. Oh my God. This is like the delicious barbecued sauce dance. This is so good! Holy crap. I probably just totally clipped the audio, but whatever, it's worth it. It smells delicious too. So what are we gonna do with this barbecue sauce? I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do with it. Julie has decided to make ribs for dinner. And so Julie has a beautiful rack of ribs that she's been cooking 24 hours in her sous vide tub with her sous vide circulator. So they're gonna be super tender, and then she's gonna slather them with this barbecue sauce, and we're gonna throw it on the grill, or maybe under the broiler, depending on what the weather is later. And we're gonna taste this barbecue sauce in action, and it's gonna be freaking delicious. Alrighty, we've got our barbecue sauce made earlier in the day, and we put it to good use. Julie made some beautiful sous vide ribs. She sous vide these ribs for 24 hours and then slathered them with the barbecue sauce we just made, and then put them under the broiler for a few minutes, and they're freaking delicious. And I'm not the only one who's gonna think so. I'm gonna test it out with somebody else. So I'm gonna call Carl on. This is Carl. This is our amazing videographer, camera guy. What's up, Carl? We're both gonna try these ribs at the same time. So I'm gonna take the little guy, because they've been eating all day. Let's see how they are.
Cheers.
Cheers! Woohoo! Oh, they're good. I got a bone. Oh my God. Oh my God. Rib dance.
I'm just gonna eat it all right now.
Oh, it's so good. You have to stop what you're doing and make this barbecue sauce right now. It is so worth it.